Here.
Hensley.
Here.
Bradford.
Here.
Tatum.
Here.
Lemings.
Here.
Bass.
Here.
We need to amend the agenda tonight, so at this time, I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules so we can vote on some agenda changes. Agenda changes would be to remove the resolution for the hospital tax, to add one ordinance concerning animal control, and to add a transfer, and also to dispense with the audible reading of the transfers at the end. Do I hear a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been motioned by Phillips, second by Holt, to suspend the rules for the purpose that I just read. Any discussion? Roll call vote for suspension.
Holt.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Bradford.
Yes.
Tatum.
Yes.
Lemings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
All those in favor of amending the agenda for the items discussed signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. You have before you, or emailed to you, copies of the minutes from last regular meeting from September 17th. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
So be it. Second.
Have a motion by Holt, second by Tatum to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? You were also emailed a copy of the minutes of the special meeting from Tuesday night. Do I hear a motion to approve those as well?
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Justice Nikki Brown, second by Justice Phillips to approve the minutes from Tuesday night, special meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You have before you a copy of the treasurer's report. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion we approve as written.
Second.
Have a motion by Tatum, second by Nikki Brown to approve the treasurer's report. Am I going too fast? We good? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You have before you, or emailed to you, a copy of the appropriations analysis. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, a motion by Holt, second by Phillips, to approve the appropriations analysis. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? County Road Equipment Report. The road department has continued work on two very large and complex grant-funded jobs on Peyton Mountain Road and Archie Road. I would like to publicly thank Wanda Courier, who is letting us construct a new bridge on her property. This will be done next year beside the old bridge on Archie Road, which is going to allow us to keep the road open the entire time the construction is going on, and is going to allow us to take out a 90-degree curve, which is going to make navigating Archie Road much easier and safer. Mowing and brush work are still occurring daily, as are routine grader routes. Approximately 10,000 tons of rocks were hauled, placed, and processed during the previous month. And I'd like to reiterate that issue 1, if that passes, will the half-cent state collected sales tax would stay the same. If that fails, we'll need to do with $470,000 a year less beginning in July 2023. Any questions or comments about the road report? You have a copy of the sheriff's report. Did anybody have any questions? Thank you. Next on the agenda, Esther Bass would like to address the court.
I got a couple of things I want to say, and I've got some questions I need to ask. Can everyone hear me?
Can you speak a little louder, please?
All right, like that. Thank you. Last week, is Will Fosse here?
Yeah.
Where you at, Will? I can't see. There you are. Okay. Last month, we had a discussion on the ballot, forming the ballot, and it was pretty much stated that you did the ballot. And this is no aspirations against you, Will. I want you to know that. I've always known you to be a very fair, honest, and good man. And I'm sorry you were put in that place, but you had, am I correct, you had only been election commissioner for a couple of weeks when that ballot was done?
Well, actually, I'd only been, less than a week.
Okay. Well, the clerk said that you did the ballot, and,
I did the ballot all except the precinct parts.
Mhm. Okay. The part that had to be done, right, to be able to have a ballot.
Well, I didn't have the information to
Yeah,
do.
without that, we couldn't even have an election, could we?
That's correct.
Yeah, we had to have that done. And who did that, Will?
Jeff Hall,
Jeff Hall. So, and who else helped him?
Vicky,
Vicki Jones?
yes.
Okay. Was Jeff compensated for that?
I do not know.
Well, I can tell you he was. And Vicki, were you compensated for that?
No, sir.
You didn't get any overtime or anything?
I didn't get any comp time and I.
And
didn't
I
get
understand
paid.
y'all worked from 4:30 to 11, is that correct? You got
It was
home
around
at-
9:30 or 10. I didn't get home till 11.
Okay,
I went to work after I got off my regular job at 4:30.
okay. Okay, that's the comments I wanted to make, and now the questions that I have. And I went to the county judge and asked him if he could give me some answers, and he couldn't. And I asked him if I could be put on the agenda because I want some answers to these questions. A few years ago, Jeff was put on when I was clerk in 2007 as election coordinator. Did a great job, worked very hard for the county. And then when they had the change in county judges, Jeff was let go because it was stated that we couldn't afford an election coordinator. Couldn't afford to keep him on. And I believe he was paid half out of the county judge's road fund, wasn't he, Judge? By.
I think so.
Yeah, half of it, his salary was paid out of the road fund, and the other half, I assume, by the election commission. But anyway, at that point, at that time, in early in 2019, I believe it was the first, maybe the first month, the second month of 2019, we enacted an ordinance number 2019-3. And in that ordinance, we set aside a new budget, office budget, for a county election coordinator. And it passed unanimously. And a salary was given of $28,972. My question is, we've been paying that salary for 2 years. My question is, why are we having to pay someone else to come in and do a job that we've been paying for 2 years? Can anyone tell me that, Pam?
Who are you talking about?
What do you mean, who am I talking about?
The 28,000, is that what you said?
The salary was for 28,000 in the new budget. I have the budget here, the ordinance in front of me.
And what year is that from?
2019-3. Okay? And according to the ordinance that I'm reading, the election coordinator and the library clerk were to be the same one.
So you're talking about Kim Black?
Is she the library clerk?
Well, you know that she is, yes.
Yes. She was one of the library clerks when I gave her a job, as a matter of fact. I've got nothing against Kim. She's a very fine lady, and I've always liked her and her husband, Darryl. But my question is, we've been paying this election coordinator salary for 2 years. And why are we having to come in and pay somebody else to do the election coordinator's job that we've already paid for.
She's not election coordinator now.
Hmm?
She's not election coordinator now. In 2019.
But wait a minute now,
You want me to answer?
she's not the election coordinator now, you said?
I'm trying to answer you,
Well, I'm asking you a question.
and I'm trying to answer you.
Is she the election coordinator or is she not?
I just said she's not election coordinator now.
Then why is she drawing the election coordinator's money?
She's not. She's drawing her money for her job.
She's drawing the same
And
today?
it was all passed by Quorum Court. But I have a question for you. You ran around the county annex to each office, even Vicky's office, and she's one of my employees, talking about me asking questions. Why did you not come in
I
my
didn't-
office and ask me?
Who told you I'd come around asking questions? Who told you that?
It doesn't matter. You've been in
Then
Bill's
how-
office, you've been in
How do you
Amanda's
know I
office,
went
you've
around
been in
talking about
Vicky's
you?
office.
This is not about me. I'm asking for answers to questions,
And
okay?
why didn't you come in my office? You were asking about me and my office.
No, it was not. I wasn't asking about you. I went in there to get Kim Black's payroll schedule for the last 2 years.
Mhm.
And
So
we
you were
were
asking
playing.
about Kim Black?
We were, what?
You're asking about Kim Black?
No, I was asking for the pay salary that she's drawn for the last 2 years. And it's been election coordinator salary.
Okay, in 2019, in January, y'all passed an ordinance to raise Kim from $12.59 to $13.93, half coordinator, half county clerk. That year, she ended up sick, she didn't get to take all the training, she was off for a while. Amanda Mitchell stepped up and she helped with this. And I didn't pay her out of election commission budget. In 2020, this budget, let's see. I think, Kim, you came back in January maybe?
Yes, ma'am.
Amanda helped with the elections this year. In February, by transfer, I moved the other half of the money from the election budget back to the county clerk's budget because the election commission at that time was spending all the money. Y'all passed it. Nothing's been done in my office without Quorum Court approval.
Okay, I have the pay schedule. In 2019, she jumped from $11,007.20 to $11,114.40 as election commissioner, right? According to the pay schedule.
$12.59 an hour to $13.93 an hour.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. In 2020, she's been paid $1,114.40 every 2 weeks to current date. That's the pay of the election coordinator. Yes, that's what she started as. In 2019, she started.
2019 ordinance was for 2019, the budget. The budget ordinance was for 2019. We're in 2020.
I understand that, Pam, but from 2019 to present, she's being paid the same salary as election coordinator was established at.
She's not election coordinator, but she doesn't sit in the land library either. She helps in our office. She's also helped with Vicki Jones since she couldn't keep up with her work.
But she was paid as an election coordinator. Why are we having to have somebody come
She's
in?
not paid as election coordinator. She's paid as a county clerk deputy.
I don't blame Kim for not wanting to take a cut in pay. That's not her
Well,
responsibility.
I'm not gonna ask her to because she
No,
does too
no,
much.
I don't blame her. anybody would do that. The only thing I have a problem with is she knew she wasn't doing the coordinator's job. But
She's not
getting the
supposed to
coordinator's
now.
pay.
She's not the election coordinator.
I understand that. She hasn't taken any training to be the election coordinator. But this ordinance sets her aside as the election coordinator with election coordinator pay.
That has changed.
But the pay hasn't.
No,
And we're having to hire somebody to come in and do the election coordinator's job that we've been paying for 2 years on. We can't
now
hire.
Kim does the land library. She has learned the marriage license. She helps with filing in my office. She helps with the phones in my office and voter registration. She helps with the voter registration work. It's been very busy since we're in election time. And she helps with accounts payable. So I'm not gonna take away money from her because I put more work on her.
She was paid to be an election coordinator.
You're missing the whole point.
No, I'm not missing the whole point. But the thing of it is, we're having to come in and pay somebody else to do the work that we did. We can't get people in our offices, like the treasurer. We can't get help for them, and we can't give others raise, but we can go ahead and do this?
Y'all passed it.
Exactly. And we passed it as her being election coordinator.
And that has changed.
But the pay is still the same, and we're having to hire somebody to come in and do the election coordinator's job.
I had talked to Quorum Court, back the first of this year about moving the money back because the election commission was spending so much. And that's what y'all had passed, is to move that money back.
Can you tell me why she wasn't trained?
She was on medical leave or,
Well, yes, I understand that, and I feel for Kim on that. I knew she was a very sick person. I knew she had a lot of medical problems. But ever since she's been back, she's not taken any training.
I was laid off for 3 months as well.
Yeah,
Because of COVID, she was laid off.
I know that. But she's been back in 2014, or 2020, she's drawn the election coordinator job that was set aside for that, and yet we don't have an election coordinator. Who is the election coordinator?
we don't have one. That's not under me anymore. That's, the election coordinator would be under the county judge now.
Then why are we still paying the salary for one?
Because y'all passed it. And
For an
then
election
we-
coordinator.
We moved the money back so election commission would not spend it. And she's got,
So you don't
she's
have
got
an
more of a job than she used to have. So I'm not gonna ask her to take a cut in pay. She's taken on a lot more responsibility.
So this ordinance that we passed is just useless, right? Because we don't have an election coordinator.
We don't have an election coordinator. As far as before, these commissioners, I've done the primary election.
Did not Jeff Hall come in and help you with that?
Yes, he sure did. He was wonderful.
And you paid him for it, didn't you?
Yes, I sure did.
All the time we were paying for an election coordinator.
Good. That's right.
Excuse me, we'll call a point of order. Let's be respectful of each person. Anyone who wants to speak will have time to speak, but let's speak one at a time.
And if you don't, I'm gonna ask the sheriff to escort you out of the room.
Thank you. Yes, sir, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'm not gonna get any answers. She can beat around the bush all night, but she's not gonna answer my question. We don't have an election coordinator, we're paying for one, but then we have to come in. I would suggest that if we're gonna pay for an election coordinator's job, we need to have one, so that we don't have to have somebody come in. I thought that's what we were getting when we made this ordinance.
Pam, how much did we pay Jeff Hall
I would have to go look.
this year?
It's not much at all.
Was it less than $200?
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere around 130.
And also, if Vicki filled out her time sheet, she would have gotten all kinds of that.
She did fill out the
Even
time
though I had told her not to go over there because Jeff had it handled.
sheet. Jeff couldn't have done it without her.
Yes, he.
No, he could not. He had to have the information from her computer.
And
Don't
she
tell me
gave
that.
it to him, but I'm not gonna argue that.
No, she had to help him with that. She read it off while he formed the ballot. It doesn't make any difference how much he's paid. The thing of it is, we're paying for an election coordinator, and then we're having to hire somebody to do it. That's my point. I'm not asking to take Kim's money away from her, but if she's gonna get the election coordinator paid, she needs to learn the job and do it so that we don't have to hire anybody to come in. That seems to me like a sensible thing.
Any discussion from the court?
Sir?
I was asking if there was any discussion from the Quorum Court.
I
Does
see
any
this,
election coordinators have anything you want to say?
I see this more as a personal grievance than a serious court matter, because
Look.
you've got a burr up your butt.
No,
Yes,
look,
you do.
look,
You do.
don't start in on me.
I wasn't starting on you, mister.
I said
Order,
you-
order, excuse me. Let's be respectful.
Esther,
Let's be, wait your turn.
No, you listen to
I will call
me.
on you. I will call on you one at a time. Okay? Esther, you go first, and then.
I sat here and listened a few months ago to how the former election commission was treated. I was appalled. It was unprofessional.
that's a shame.
It's a shame. It was a sham and it was a shame,
Yes.
the way they were treated.
Amen, brother.
And now you sit here and have the gall to tell me that we need to forget it. It's the same money going out,
Esther,
Dale.
she's not being paid for that position.
She
She's still
is.
got the raise doing other stuff. That's the whole point, Esther. She's not.
But we're still without election
I
coordinator.
understand it, and we may need one. I'll go with
Evidently,
one.
we do.
Well, evidently we might. But you're beating a dead horse now. We're not going to go anywhere with this.
I know I'm not gonna get any answers.
And Jeff Hall wasn't let go. He got a better job. He went to something better.
He saw the handwriting on the wall now.
Any other discussion on this matter? Okay, let's move on.
I think you can make it.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I didn't get one of those.
Did you need one?
I
I was
didn't.
gonna get one for the judge.
What is it?
I'll phone you, make this out. Yeah, that's okay. You're welcome.
You're welcome. There you go.
Mayor, Your Honor.
Sure.
Okay, you all should know me by now. I've been here for 13 years. Vicki Jones, over voter registration. Been doing elections for a long time. And I've been put on sick leave last week for the stress that I've been under. And now I have another one for this week. I went to the doctor today. Also have another week till next week. Another week leave, sick pay from my doctor. And I'd like to read you this letter. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Today's the 10th, the 15th of 2020. Dale James, Pam Bradford, Buren County Judge Clerk, to whom it may concern. This letter is my official notification to you and to the Buren County Clerk's office that my last day of work at the voter registration office will be 11/2 of 2020. On that day, I plan to retire. I am taking my retirement early due to the hostile work environment I have been experiencing while working under the supervision of Pam Bradford. I have had to seek medical treatment for extreme stress due to the mental anguish I've been put through daily. I feel at this time I cannot professionally perform my duties as I have in the past. I've always taken pride in performing my job duties for God first and then the people of Buren County. I appreciate the opportunities I have been given through the grace of God. I wish you all the luck in the future and may God bless you all. Sincerely, Vicki Jones. Thank you.
Can I say something? Since we're gonna bring this up in front of the whole county, I'll let y'all know that I've had trouble with Vicki for a while. I've got several write-ups on her, and we were going to discuss it after election. And you know this. I've talked to her several times. She's cursed me in her office. She's talked about the other employees. So it's her time to retire. We've been doing her job for the past week, and it's been going fine. So it's time for her to retire.
Thank you for your service.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Vicki, you worked for me for many years. I remember the day you walked in my office. I put you in voter registration, I said you cry over and over again because it was too hard. And I encouraged you, I said, Vicki, stick with it. If you learn this, you won't ever have to seek for a job, they'll come after you. And I know there have been several people that's tried to get you to come and work for them. I know when you learned the job, you made this county #1 in the state. I would go to the clerk's meetings. When we did redistricting 10 years ago, you were the only clerk registrar in the state that had their redistricting done on time.
Yes, sir.
And I would go to the clerk's meeting, they would use your work to show all the other clerks, this is how it's supposed to be done. I was so proud of you. And the county's gonna be really at dire straits without you. And I appreciate your hard work, and no one knows any better than I.
Thank you, and I'm gonna call discussion on this closed because this is a Quorum Court meeting, this is not a grievance hearing. And should that we come to a grievance hearing, we'll address it at that time. But this really is not the forum for this kind of intimate back and forth about someone's job performance and to air dirty laundry. So,
Judge, may I mean, just
yes.
kind of from the county's perspective legally, this isn't the right forum for this sort of thing. So there is certainly, as everyone's aware, there is a way for due process to be had, or if there is a legitimate claim or legitimate or illegitimate, doesn't matter. There is a procedure, a legal procedure, and it's not in this meeting. And so I would advise the judge at this point in time to move this along. And if anyone has a claim against the county and wants to file that in accordance with the law, then we'll deal with that, and we'll do that in due course. But at this point in time, I think to protect the county, we need to, this is not a place in a regular Quorum Court meeting, Your Honor.
thank you. Next item of business, we have an ordinance sponsored by Sarah Brown.
I have 2 copies of this ordinance. Are they any different?
There's a little bit of a difference.
I think the date on the bottom.
It's the date, the date on the bottom is at the top.
Okay, so the 15th. Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an emergency ordinance to establish a new fund for the equitable sharing account for the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office. Whereas it has been brought to our attention that the equitable sharing account that has been handled by the Sheriff's Department should be handled by the County Treasurer's Office per county auditors, and whereas the Sheriff's Department will be closing their account and a new one will be opened by the County Treasurer, and whereas money will be directly deposited into the county treasury. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that a special account will be set up by the county treasurer for the equitable sharing account fund number 3411. Emergency clause, it is imperative for the county operations to continue smoothly, efficiently, and effectively. Therefore, this ordinance being necessary for the protection and preservation of public health and safety, an emergency is hereby declared to exit, and this ordinance shall be enforced and shall take effect upon passage and publication. Make a move that we accepted it.
Second.
Been motion by Justice Sarah Brown and second by Justice Holt. That we adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Bradford.
Yes.
Tatum.
Yes.
Lemings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
20-20-28.
Okay, and this has an emergency clause on it. I'm going to ask Justice Brown if she will read that emergency clause one more time. And I'd like to read into the minutes that we acknowledge the emergency clause on this ordinance.
Just number 2.
Just number 2.
It is imperative for the county operations to continue smoothly, efficiently, and effectively. Therefore, this ordinance being necessary for the protection and preservation of public health and safety, an emergency is hereby declared to exit, and this
Should exist.
Thank you. To exist, and this ordinance shall be enforced and shall take effect upon passage and publication.
Thank you. All those in favor of accepting the emergency clause signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Our next item of business is an ordinance sponsored by Brian Tatum.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance 2019-55, the annual operating budget for 2020 to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $250 into the Sheriff's Office budget number 1000-400. Whereas the Sheriff's Office received a donation for the K-9 unit, and whereas this money is to be appropriated into line item 1000-400-3104, K-9 expense grant donations. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court, Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, $250 be appropriated into the Sheriff's Office budget number 1000-400-3104, K-9 expense grant donations. I move to approve as written.
Second.
Been a motion by Tatum, second by Phillips to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt.
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Bradford?
Yes.
Tatum?
Yes.
Lemings?
Yes.
Passed.
Yes.
2020-29.
Thank you. Next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Nikki Brown.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to establish a sub-fund of County General to be called the Coronavirus Relief Fund and to declare an emergency. Article 1, affirmation. It comes before this court that there is a need to establish a fund on the books of the county as a sub-fund of the General County Fund number 1000 to track the revenues, expenditures, and/or appropriated transfers of federal assistance through the CARES Act as received by the county from the state of Arkansas. This court recognizes and affirms the need for such a fund to properly account for and control all such revenues received and expenditures made in compliance with all applicable laws. Article 2, establishment of fund. There is hereby created on the books of the county treasurer and the books of the county clerk to be known as the Coronavirus Relief Fund with a fund number of 1005 as assigned by Arkansas Legislative Audit. The revenue code for the federal assistance through the CARES Act as assigned by Legislative Audit is number 7112, Federal Coronavirus Relief. Article 3, operation of fund. The Coronavirus Relief Fund is subject to all normal county budgeting, appropriation, and expenditure regulations of Arkansas Code annotated Title 14 and the County Financial Management System. As a sub-fund of the County General Fund, any balance in the fund is considered accruable to the County General and is part of the General Fund balance in aggregate as defined in ACA 14-15-8053. Any revenue received from the CRF for an approved county project shall be used exclusively for said project. Any revenue received from the CRF to compensate the county for eligible and approved expenditures made by the county due to the public health emergency with respect to COVID-19 is unrestricted county revenue and may be expended for any legal county expense. Article 4, emergency clause. It is found by this court that the arrival of federal assistance funds from the CARES Act are imminent, making it necessary to establish the Coronavirus Relief Fund, a sub-fund of County General in order to be able to properly track the revenue, appropriate expenditures, and/or appropriate transfers. Therefore, an emergency is declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from the date of passage and approval. Make a motion we approve.
Second.
A motion by Nikki Brown and second by Justice Bass to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Bradford?
Yes.
Tatum?
Yes.
Lemings?
Yes.
Passed.
Yes.
2020-30.
Okay, and also I would like to ask Nikki Brown to again read the emergency clause, and we will vote we'll read it into the minutes.
Okay. Article 4, emergency clause. It is found by this court that the arrival of federal assistance funds from the CARES Act are imminent, making it necessary to establish the Coronavirus Relief Fund, a sub-fund of County General, in order to be able to properly track the revenue, appropriate expenditures, and/or appropriate transfers. Therefore, an emergency is declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from the date of passage and approval.
Thank you. All those in favor of adopting or acknowledging the emergency clause, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Our next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Bill Holt.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance allowing the county to do business with certain county employees and/or their family members. Whereas the Van Buren County is in need to do business with certain employees of the county and/or their family. And whereas the law states that a county employee cannot receive compensation other than the salary that the county has approved. And whereas the employee and the reasons are listed below. Judge Hosey, County Coroner for two-way radio repair. Wesley Potts, drug task zones, vending machines at the courthouse, no county money exchange. Amy Hamilton, elected commissioner on AR sanitation. Kim Black, County Clerk, Deputy County Roads as a contract for share with Mr. Black. Chad Brown, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney, and Nikki Brown, Quorum Court member, rents office space to the county. Amanda Mitchell, County Clerk, Deputy County, purchases parts for a store of her father's part owner. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, The county will continue to do business with these county employees and/or their family members. Section 2, this ordinance will be retroactive. I move to approve this ordinance.
It was motion by Holt, second by Phillips to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. This is hinging on nepotism, seems to me like. And we passed ordinances many, many years ago on the nepotism problem.
Nepotism is it affects the elected official in the first consanguinity, and there are no elected officials listed here on this ordinance.
Well.
Yeah, Joe Cosi is. Right.
But Joe is, yes.
And I would just like to make a clarification. Chad is listed on here as deputy prosecuting attorney, and sometimes there's some confusion on that. He's actually an employee of the state. I am disclosing this. There's actually a separate ordinance for the lease that we have with the county that I made sure to show sunshine on before I actually came on. So mine's actually covered also in an additional separate ordinance, laying that out. So I just wanted to note those.
Just to clarify, because I didn't understand and wasn't listening until I heard my name. Are we still doing business, or you don't want my $8,000 to $10,000 a month in dump fees? We're not doing business anymore. We're still doing it, okay.
What this does, anytime there can be a perceived, I guess, favoritism among people who may work in different facets of the county, or their spouses do also. We just have to, by law, shed some light on that. So it's just open and transparent.
I understand. Thank you for the clarification.
Doesn't mean that anything is improper by any means, and especially in a community this small, we're all gonna know people or be kin to someone that we're probably gonna do business with. This is just a way to be completely. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Bradford?
Yes.
Tatum?
Yes.
Lemings?
Yes.
Pass.
No,
2020-31.
Actually, this will need 3 readings. So at this time, I will I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules to do readings 2 and 3 at this time, by title only.
Second.
It's been a motion by Phillips, second by Holt, to suspend the rules to do readings 2 and 3 at this meeting by title only. Any discussion? All those in favor, roll call vote for suspension.
Holt?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Bradford?
Yes.
Tatum?
Yes.
Lemings?
Yes.
Pass.
no.
Okay. Justice Holt, please read the second time by title only.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance allowing the county to do business with certain county employees and/or their families.
Okay, and number 3 by title only.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance allowing the county to do business with certain county employees and/or their family members.
Okay, so we have 3 readings at this time. We have a vote. Motion carries. It was 2021.
31.
Thank you.
2020-31.
Next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Bass.
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance 2019-55, the annual operating budget for 2020, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $6,800 into the Election Commission budget, number 1,109. Whereas the Election Commissioners are in need of training before the 2020 general presidential election, and whereas the training is to be conducted by ES&S, Electronic Systems and Software, and whereas training will cost approximately $1,700 per day for a total of 4 days. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Arkansas, Van Buren County, Arkansas, that $6,800 be appropriated into Election Commission budget number 1,109, 28-3101, training and education. I move for its adoption.
Do we hear a second?
I second, because I want to discuss.
Okay, so it was motion by Bass and second by Nikki Brown. Any discussion?
Okay, so I just have a lot of questions on this one. Obviously, I think we all recognize the importance of the upcoming election with presidential election. We've got things being voted on that are going to greatly affect our county, regardless of which way you're voting on it. So I think that there's just a lot of questions on what this training is going to, how it's going to be helpful, just a lot of information that I'd like to get about it, and who thinks we need it, why do we need it, all those questions. So I don't know who I really need to address these two. But.
Probably me.
Okay, all right.
As I think everybody in this room knows, election commission is all brand new, coming in like August, with no way to know how to do any part of our job. So ES&S is the election people. They're the ones who know what's going on. They're the ones who provide training. And in order to be able to operate the equipment, be able to teach how to operate the equipment, et cetera, we gotta be trained. They've gotta come, they've got to present to us everything to know how to do it.
So this is training, and again, when I'm asking questions, I'm really coming into this not knowing anything. So this is training done by, is it done by the state, or it's a company that comes in and does this?
They send a person.
Okay, and then the 3 election commissioners would be trained on, this focuses on using the machines, so you can train the poll workers, or?
Well, it's not directly for the poll workers, because we also got additional training from the state to train poll workers. But the training is, essentially, it is on how to use the equipment, how it works, every part of it, the poll books, the ES200, and the tap and the voting machine.
Gotcha. And who trains, do you guys train the poll workers from
We do.
there, like it passes down?
We've been doing it.
Okay. Say we didn't do this training, where would you get the training to use the machines? And I'm really just fact finding.
We wouldn't, I guess, is the answer.
Secretary of State does offer some training on the machines. Because we came in so late and there were so many petitions that they had to deal with, legal issues, we were told right off the bat that they would not have time to do that, or they would try to make time to do that. As time went by and we realized we didn't even have enough information to know what questions to ask, we went to everybody, Secretary of State's office, the Election Commission, the State Election Commission Board, and ES&S. We ended up with getting ES&S training for this election. It's all very rushed. We spent 12-hour days without getting paid. And the first order of business we heard you guys took was to lower our pay from $100 to $25. So that was fun to hear. After spending several 12-hour days, just this week we had poll worker training till 9:30 on Monday. We had a poll worker training on Wednesday. We had 2 on Saturday. All of this is rushed because our very first day was August 24th, and we had a ballot deadline on August 26th. Can you imagine walking into your job and having the most important thing about an election is a ballot, and hearing from everybody around you, they don't know how to do it. They can't help you. We asked state level help. They said we can give you access to the portal to enter it, but we don't have your county information. So 2 days we had brand new walk-in. Our office was empty. Every filing cabinet was empty, void of any information. We then asked Bobby Bennett to come in and help us, show us some budget information and also how to do the minutes, to do anything. We're brand new on the job, August 24th. Deadline for the ballot, August 26th at midnight. I begged Jeff Hall on Tuesday night before our Wednesday deadline, offering to pay him cash to come help us. We did not, if we didn't get that ballot deadline met, we would possibly not have an election. Or would we meet the federal deadline to get the absentee ballots out to the military personnel and other people. It was a very stressful time. We did not know until 4:30 on the deadline, when ES&S closed at 5, that we were gonna get help entering our ballot. And so it's very important that we're trained as brand new election commissioners. We have to be trained in order to have an election. I would think everybody would be behind that, so we have a successful, smooth election. We should be trained.
And Amy hit on that too. Again, last month when I was here, I made a point of letting y'all know that we've done a lot of work and haven't had to pay for it. This week, I have literally been in here every day this week for something. The training that we give, when we're spending 3 or 4 hours here, 4 times to get the poll workers all trained. And as far as I know, there's no way to collect any kind of pay for that.
Well, and I just want to be clear, I wanted to second that so that we could discuss this, because at the end of the day, I want us to have a good, discussion on this, because at the end of the day, regardless of our viewpoints, there are so many important things that are going to be decided at this election. And I personally would be embarrassed if it wasn't conducted correctly, and mostly that our county's voices were not heard. That is the point of conducting elections. That's what this whole thing is based on. We have to make sure that people's voices are heard and that they are heard correctly, that there are not mistakes. So I do think that this is an important thing. Again, I recognize that we've got 3 new members.
And no election coordinator.
Obviously, we have budget constraints. I understand all those. I know nothing going into this about ES&S. I don't know nothing about election, putting them on myself. I guess where I'm worried is we got to make sure that we put on a good election and that the people of this county's voices are heard and it's done correctly. And so,
well, that is what the Election Commission is about. We are trying to do everything we can do to ensure that the election goes off without a hitch.
And they work very hard, but I'd like to say this, up to here recently, the Election Commission has always had their own budget. But for somehow or other, some reason or other, it was placed under the clerk's office. And now they, we heard her say she took the money so that the Election Commissioners couldn't spend it. And they don't have any money. They don't have any money.
I want to jump in here too, and then Ms. Merriam will let you jump in here. I've got multiple problems with this. And for one is, I understand you got to have training, and I do understand that 100%. A problem is this same training is offered for free from the state. Second off, I don't spend money without knowing that it's appropriated prior to that and or getting approval before that. When was this training taken?
Amy, do you know what the date was?
Ms. Bobby Bennett has a lot more experience than us. Like I said, we're new. Will and I are Republicans, and we don't like to spend
Yeah,
money.
when was this class taken? This is not something you're going to take, you're already taking
Yeah,
it.
we did this, I think, about 2 weeks ago.
Something like that.
They've already taken the training. That's my issue.
The problem is that the SOS, yes, they could give us a training, but it would be late.
Understand?
And
Did
if
you
it's
come
late,
before the Quorum
we've got
Court?
no
Did
way
you
to know
call
what to do.
anybody and ask them, hey, do we have the money? Can we get this money for
Yes.
this training? Who
Yes.
asked? Didn't ask me.
Yes, we actually, I believe we sent an email. It's also in my meeting minutes that we were given a budget. We were, at that time, we said it was 31,000. We're new. We're like, that's understanding. ES&S is the company that holds the elections for the entire United States. It's not just Arkansas.
Well,
They are expensive.
Understand that.
And we
To
were,
answer your questions, it's been quick turnaround on a lot of it. I mean, learning about deadlines sometimes the day, 2 days before.
Right.
The deadlines for this training, like we just did LNA testing, there was a deadline to have that done.
Right.
We had to be trained on machines to do that. You know, we were in here 6 hours Saturday doing all that. So a lot of it is not knowing for sure what our budget really was and just not having time to come in.
Well, my question is, and I understand what you're saying, but my question is, do we just go out and spend as much money as we want, don't ask?
No.
No,
And in
we
fact,
don't,
there
but that's
is.
how come we're in the situation we are with the last commissioners.
Brian,
Yeah.
let me
They did the
interject
same
here. Once
thing.
again, I'm gonna say to you, to the court, I'm doing everything I can do to save money. We have not asked for money for half the time we've been working, but some things have got to be taken care of. We have to have the training. Unfortunately, there was not time to say, hey, we gotta wait for another meeting and get approval for it and all that stuff. When the time is there, it's like we're hearing, what you're hearing is,
How many people
we
took this
don't
training?
know, because we're so new, we don't know sometimes that we only got this much time to get something done.
How many people took this training? Two people.
Point of order. We got too many conversations and discussions.
I'm sorry, I'm being filled in because again, we're so new, we don't even know, like I said earlier, the questions to ask or the procedures to ask. Ms. Bennett's been in it for a long time, so she was trying to tell me, because we're sitting next to each other. But like I said, this is how new we are. Would we have known? We asked, I believe there was an email sent to the judge to ask if we had enough money. And I actually asked the state, Daniel Schultz, he said, no, don't worry, money will be there for the election. Now, I understand that the primaries are reimbursed, but the general's not. I didn't know that until after the fact. We walked up with no experience whatsoever. We were appointed to volunteer for our county at the last minute to try to get a smooth election. And we're getting pushback, and no help, and no election coordinator, and losing sleep and working 12-hour days. It's, I mean, if you would like keys to the office, this is, you know, if you want to step in, that'd be great. If we could get any help from anybody and not be chastised for volunteering and going sleepless nights because we don't even know what we're doing, and we're getting training on the fly. And our first day was August 24th.
Ma'am, I understand you. You've said that about 4 times now.
I
But the
want you to
question
understand that's how new
is,
we
we're
are.
asking why, the question Brian was asking you is why you did not come before the court and say, we need this money, or somebody.
We didn't know how much money we needed. We never got any budget information. We are not asking for this money.
So how many people went to training?
There's 3 of us.
Did all three of you go? Because they only billed for 2.
Right. ES&S refused to train me because I do not wear a mask and that we were in close quarters. So I did not get trained. I got trained by my fellow guys. So that's why they
How
didn't
much
build
was
the
the
training.
training? How much was the training?
My understanding is approximately $1,700 a day.
So I think, and I couldn't hardly read it, but the bill that I was sent, did it not say 3,800?
3,400.
400?
$7,800.
Do what now?
We were charged for 2 days. I think they helped y'all with the LNA and.
Yeah, we haven't been proceeding to it yet for LA, as far as I know. I mean, there's going to be more expenses, there's no doubt about it.
I think there's going to be more too.
But you understand where I'm coming from as far as,
And
for one, let me back up here on the training part of it. We want you to have training, we want you to be the best at what you do, that's not an issue, okay? Now, I do have an issue whenever something's thrown at us and say, hey, well, we've already had this, now y'all need to pay it.
Right.
Well, and I have a problem with that, a major problem with that. Second of all, is you get paid $100, back up about not getting paid, but you do get paid $100 per meeting, okay, for up to 10 meetings, and anything after 10 meetings, you get paid $25 a meeting,
That is
correct?
correct.
Is that correct? Which is what we get paid for special meetings, is $25 on that. So, you know, if, and I think the question was raised, when I was speaking with you, Mr. Fossey, about, you guys are gonna have to train the, correct me here, the poll workers, okay? Yeah, you get paid for that, okay? Now, it won't be $100 a meeting if you go over your 10 meetings, you know? But this is something that you guys didn't do, okay? This is something that some of your predecessors had a little problem in with that, having 25 meetings. And, and that's where all this came from, I guess what I'm saying. I'm not harping on you guys, all right? Don't get me wrong here. Now, I am harping on you about the taking the meeting, or taking the training, and then coming up there and saying, hey, you all need to pay this. I had a problem with that, that's exactly what happened last time.
We haven't requested any money for our budget, we only requested transaction reports, so we can see what our future budget that we're supposed to sign off on in 2021, we were trying to make an intelligent decision on what an off year might be. This is the general, this is gonna be expensive. We're new, we don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
So we needed transaction reports and whatnot, I saw one today.
Have y'all ever got with, I'm just asking, have you got with Pam, Miss Bradford, or the treasurer to see what your budget is?
Actually, we've spent very little time on that because literally we've just been trying to beat one deadline after the other. And it's not like we do 4 weeks in advance about the training that's coming up, or the scheduling conflicts. What we did know is when we get a message from the state saying you have this deadline to do such and such on the 13th, and it's the 11th. We're jumping through hoops to try to beat every deadline. I told people for the longest, I'm pretty sure we'll have a wonderful election come February, but unfortunately, it's been scheduled earlier than that. So, there's really, we've not known far enough in advance on some of the expenses that we want to have, so we would keep early. Literally, this is the first time we've taken time with today to get a transaction issue. Because I wanted to go through from January 1 to today to see what happened.
So Philip, as of October, and Amy, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but in October, the Quorum Court passed your budget for $24,396.22 for the election commission.
Yeah, we were asked to sign off on a budget that we had no information of, and then when questioned, because there was a line item for a full-time employee, I questioned, I would have a full-time employee, because we could certainly use the help.
I don't have a full-time employee, I want money to get you,
Okay.
on part-time.
All right, I'm saying the budget that Will probably has, the budget we were asked to sign off on, I think it was like 25.5, and 15 of that was, so more than half of that was a full-time employee.
That was not our budget passed by the Quorum Court.
I understand, I'm saying that's the one we got to sign off on without any information. We did actually sign off on it, and then after, because we're rolling, meeting deadlines, I said, wait, we should probably not sign off on a future budget without being educated completely on what an off year would look like.
Yeah, because you have 8,000 for part-time salaries,
That would be for poll workers.
$134.67 for Social Security match, $13,000 for other professional services, which would have included this training.
Yeah, yes, that's probably yes.
Which was at $21,134.67 to those distribution
That's not the
budgets.
one we signed off on.
You also had $2,500 for other part-time salaries, $191.25 for Social Security, $570 for general supplies, totaling $3,261.55. So you have $24,362.22.
Is that what they, I'm sorry, Bill, is that what they have now?
It should be.
Yes, right
Or is that next year's budget?
No, that's this year.
Oh, we're talking about next year's budget.
Oh, no, I'm talking about this year. I'm sorry.
The budget we signed off on was the future budget.
Okay.
That's the one, I'm sorry, miscommunication. Yeah, that's the one we signed off on.
That should be the money that I have to work with right now.
So they down to nothing? You think?
We've been paying $300, so I don't think we're down.
No, you don't have
If you look at the detailed report for the election commission, which I would encourage everybody to study, to date, there's been $54,300.38 spent. Of that, this election commission has spent $15,411.84. Of that $15,411.84, $13,756.19 has gone to ES&S. As far as we know, there's a statewide vendor, nationwide vendor. We're actually having to lean on them for guidance to some degree. So So of the money spent by this commission, you've got almost $1,700 that we've.
We've been paying, I've been dipping into my own pocket, because I heard, the problems that this, woman here is to get reimbursed. I wasn't gonna put myself in that situation. So I just, I've been paying for paper and toner and keys to key change and, it just about ain't coming paying out of my pocket.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I know I don't have to do that, but I mean, we're being held to task for a previous commission, so I'm holding you task by your behavior against the previous commission, which is not reimbursing them for their expenses, is what I understand. So I didn't want to get in that situation, and I know the county is, hurting some money in certain areas and other areas maybe not, so I have stepped up to just pay for it, rather than go through the hoops. And there's no way for an election commission to embezzle any money. I know the entire county thinks this, but all we do is turn in minutes and somebody else cuts a check. We don't have access to any county funds at all.
Well, let's back up here on this ordinance. We don't have a ENS test that's in here for 2 days for training.
Yes.
So how long before y'all hired them to come in here, did y'all know you need this money? What I'm saying, you call it a Quorum Court emergency meeting. We stood up here for
I didn't know anything about anything like that. I don't know anything about how the Quorum Court works.
It says for 4 days, it said 2 days. It was a meeting for 2 days?
Yeah, but
I think it's 2 per person, is that what, how this is
who
rolled?
authorized these people? Who hired them?
The state.
The state hired them? or-
Was there ever a chance for you to get the free training?
I'm sorry.
Was there ever a chance for you to get the free training?
No, they told us they couldn't schedule us. We were waiting, based on our, you wanna answer this? Based on our schedule of deadlines, which is like every 3 days, you know, up until, we're kind of cruising now, but we're training poll workers. They told us, like I said before, usually they would. We were late in the game, August 24th. And so we tried to get the free training. Again, we're conservatives. We don't want to spend any county money. I'm spending my own money. There's proof of that. We asked for the training. SOS said, we're sorry. All of my conversations are on speaker in front of the chair. He can vouch for this. They said, we're sorry. We're really busy with petitions. Our wet petition, apparently some others in the state. We do not have time to train you guys. And that's when,
That came from who?
was it Raynetta or Chantel?
I don't know which.
I was one of those, we had to learn who our reps were. I was talking to the
All
law.
secretaries, they said they did not have time.
They did not have time to train us. We would have taken the free training. They did not have time to train us.
Their training, if they couldn't give it to us, would have been so late this month that it would have been.
That it would have been a domino effect for the rest of the election. We didn't have time. We wouldn't have wanted to spend.
I need to, this is, in my opinion, this is getting out of hand. What you don't understand is that whether we agree or disagree, we're thankful for what you're doing. There are chips on shoulders, it's very apparent.
No, I mean,
Yes.
we're being attacked for a budget we didn't even bring up. We're just here to answer questions.
You're not being attacked, you're being questioned because there was money spent without asking. And the
We
reason
didn't
for
even know to
that.
ask. We didn't even know what our budget was. We didn't have this information. The only budget information we received was from this lady right here.
I sent y'all a budget a long time ago, when we were started.
Regardless, my point is that we are thankful for what you're doing. Nobody expects you to work for free or pay for anything that you should not be paying
So what's the
for.
question?
The problem that we have is that there was money spent without asking for it.
Well, we will acknowledge that we did wrong. We can't undo that. We still got an election coming up here in a couple of weeks. So why don't we tonight go ahead and address, there will be additional expenses. We can't help that.
Idea how much?
So, an estimate,
Yeah.
I thought probably another $3,400 in for ES&S. Apparently they do send somebody up to monitor.
Okay, well, election day, you can help.
Yes.
Okay, we need
Day
to.
before, day of, the day after.
$1,700 a day?
No.
I don't know what that time would be for that day, for those times.
They need to be.
And they spend a half a day, if it's like it is for Faulkner County, what Commissioner down there told me is that ESS comes for half a day before, the whole day, and half a day the next day.
Okay.
And half the day after.
And nobody's denying that you need the training. I mean, you can't just walk in there blindly and just automatically know what to do. We
Well,
understand
I
that.
understand what you're saying. You're concerned with that we had training before we got permission.
Right.
One, we didn't know we even had to get permission because we assumed we had money. Two, there was no time to get permission because, well, there would have been if I had known that you could come and call, hey, we need an emergency quorum court meeting. I didn't know that.
And it's a learning experience. Hindsight's 2020. Now we all know, that's fine. But what I want you guys to know is that nobody's against you. We're not against you. You have a job to do. What you're doing is very important, and it's appreciated. So please don't feel like we're attacking you.
I have some questions just to clarify, just some facts. This ordinance, I think there's been a little bit of back and forth on, there were 2 people trained, 3 people. At the end of the day, is the $6,800 correct amount to be on the ordinance? Is that the right amount?
$1,700 a day.
Okay.
For
We have spent $3,400, which put at that line item, $3,200 in the negative. A renewal license that I don't know if we have any control over, so you can not pay or pay, $3,875. There was not a penny budgeted in that line item. What I'm going from is the transactions report from January 1 to
It's just the way that this is written, and again, I'm just drilling down the facts, just not any, is the 6,800. Number 2 is, I know that it was alluded to that the general, there's no chance, or I heard that of reimbursement. Is there a chance of reimbursement on anything? And then number 3, if you'd missed the deadline, what would have happened?
If we miss the deadline for the ballot?
Yes.
An election.
Okay.
It don't go off.
And the reason I was questioning this is because the bill that I seen that was sent to me said $3,400, and then it's shown here $6,800, so that's why I was.
Well, I think where the $6,800 number come from, like I said, there was $200 apparently appropriated into one line item.
Under training and education.
Yeah. And then the other part, I guess, is the renewal license fee, and I could think that's an annual or.
Yeah, that'll be annual.
See, that was, no money was in the budget for that.
Okay, let me ask you this, what is the other professional services, group 1,109,3009, what is that used for?
That's what ESNS will be paid out of, other professional services.
Okay, because there's 13,750 in there now, as of today. The balance is what it's showing in here. So if we have this in here now, why do we have to have this ordinance? Why don't we just pay the bill out of the money that's there? You see what I'm saying?
Because they're gonna have more training. They have, what, 3 days?
They need the additional appropriation to keep from having to come back again next month. And we're up against the election day, so we need, the monies need to be appropriated or else it's being spent without being appropriated again.
So even if we pay this out, there's still no 7,000 in there.
Well, we have, we have other bills to pay for, extra ballots and.
That's just out of other professional services.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at those provisional envelopes as well. We're finding out now that we don't even have all the documents or the proper envelopes that's required by state law. We don't have them. We found that out last night. Those would be provisional ballot envelopes.
We're gonna have to order provisional ballot envelopes.
But so when you're asking us how much money do we need, like I said, we're new. We're just finding out what we need, and the only people we can go to is ES&S. I mean, that's a great racket to be in.
Yes,
I think we.
Actually, we're in touch with Faulkner County. We're also in touch with Cleveland County. I've got Faulkner County seeing if they can bring us some provisional ballot envelopes.
Okay.
That's the name of what you're gonna need?
No, that's a county of 100,000 people. This is 16,000. It's a different apples and oranges.
Let's, we chased this a lot, and I believe we have the information we need to call the question. Does anyone have any disagreement with that?
Well, one more thing, is that enough? Is that gonna be enough?
We don't know.
That would be a question to ask Pam.
For the month, I mean, to not have, for this month until next month, to not have to call an emergency meeting, okay. Yep, that was all I had. Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Bradford.
Yes.
Tatum.
No.
Lemings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
2020-32.
Thank you. Our next ordinance
Can
is.
can I ask one more question? Maybe out of order or something, I don't know, because I don't know how that all works.
Okay.
There's one other thing concerning elections that could actually be a help to the county, but it's gonna cost money. I've had to order ballots 3 times so far because there's no way to know how many do we need for absentee ballots. That said, the county can buy its own ballot printer.
Okay, that would be a question for the budget committee, and we'll get you the information for our next budget meeting.
All right.
We'll explore that in great detail. That sounds like a good idea.
The state came out with further guidance, so we need to be in line with what the state said in reference to animal protection. Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an emergency ordinance to be entitled, an emergency ordinance to modify Section A definitions, number 4, livestock of ordinance number 2017-27, establishing penalties and fees for certain animal control violations, and to add poultry. Whereas number 4 definitions in ordinance 2017-27 is found to be serviceable, and whereas chicken, duck, and similar animal or fowl listed under number 4 livestock in ordinance 2017 should be listed under poultry according to the state of Arkansas. And whereas ordinance 2017-27 will be modified to read, definitions, number 4, livestock means horse, mules, bovine animal, goat, sheep, swine, or any other domestic animal ordinarily raised and or used for farm purposes. Number 5, poultry means turkey, chicken, duck, or similar animal or fowl raised and or used for farm purposes. Whereas the definitions of vicious animal will be moved to number 6. Now and therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that ordinance 2017-27 will be modified to add poultry. This ordinance being necessary for the preservation of public peace, health, and safety, and welfare, is therefore declared that an emergency exists, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effective from and after its passage. I move we accept this ordinance.
Motion by Holt, second by Phillips to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
I just want to ask Dale, I know because I kind of talked to you a little bit about this, but does this fall within the state
Yes.
realm of things?
Yep.
On that?
This is what the state guidance was.
Okay.
Someone has been attacked by a chicken or something? You got-
No, we had a bad word.
Chickens at large.
Chickens at large.
Chicken at large.
Chickens at large.
Daily.
Daily.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Bradford.
Yes.
Tatum.
Yes.
Lemings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
2020-33.
Okay, let's read into the minutes and approve the emergency clause, please.
This ordinance being necessary for the preservation of public health, safety, and welfare is therefore declared that an emergency exists, and this ordinance shall be in full effect and force even from and after its passage.
All those in favor of acknowledging the emergency clause signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We've dispensed with the audible reading of the transfers. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
What ordinance number was this?
33.
Thank you.
Okay. We had a motion by Phillips and second by Holt to approve the transfers. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the transfers signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That is the end of the business. Are there any public comments at this time? Okay. I'd like to make a brief public comment. I'm David Emmerling with Library Board. For those of you who don't know it, the library is open 6 days a week, 9 to 5, for curbside service. And we've just started opening 1 day a week, Thursday, that you can actually go in and browse. We only allow 4 people at a time. You do have to wear a mask. So we're giving that a try and seeing how that goes. And we've had we average over 100 transactions a day there at the library. So we're keeping pretty busy during all this. Thank you. Anyone else?
Thanks for filling that resolution.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Any opposed?